Hello and welcome to What the Folk with your host, Ron Davis. We have an interesting show lined up for you today. Ronda Vice will be testing the grenades of Ready or Not. Over to you, Rhonda.
Thanks, Uncle Ron. Hey everyone, I'm Rhonda, the Tactical Folks Tactical Tester. I run tests on all things ready or not so you can make better decisions. Today, we will be throwing a lot of grenades. Just so you know, grenades affect players the same way they affect suspects. To make life easier, we'll be throwing grenades at our least valuable officers. Nobody was harmed in the making of this video. We start with the Flashbang. It has a 2-second dead timer. Once it pops, you're blinded, but only very shortly. The kicker is the stun that lasts 10 seconds. Let's quickly test the anti-flash goggles while we're here. The anti-flash goggles mitigate any haze caused by the flash. They have no effect on the stun, though. We've got the first data for our table. Now, the CS gas. After releasing, it takes 4 seconds before the gas begins to disperse. Once it starts, it's going for 18 seconds. You're stunned for as long as you're smelling those farts. Apologies to our glamorous assistant for this one. It's worth mentioning that the CS effect applies as soon as the gas begins to disperse. This is shown in one of our later tests. While the CS takes longer to deploy, it makes up for it in duration. Let's see how the Stinger fares. The Stinger has a 2-second dead timer. It explodes and shoots a bunch of non-lethal pellets, stunning anyone hit for 7 seconds. And, just so you know, Armour type does not mitigate the Stinger effect. Shields will be very lightly affected by the Stinger, so don't worry about trying to protect them. This applies to both standing and crouch too. The CS still reigns supreme in the effect and duration category, but maybe all is not as it seems. We'll get back to this later. Bonus fact. Did you know the Stinger can open doors? It's caused by the det charge, which has its own area of effect. We can prove this by throwing a Stinger into a room. Doors will not open if there is a suspect behind them, nor will the suspect be affected by the Stinger. The det charge needs line of sight to open the door. Landing parallel to the door will do nothing. Be careful where you throw them, though, as they can swing open doors back into you. We'll have more on this later, but let's move on to the nade ranges. Here we have our test bunnies spread out a meter apart. We will see how far the nade effects reach. The Flashbang is only effective up to 12 meters. The CS gas is also only effective up to 12 meters. The Stinger takes the crown at 14 meters. Going back to our table, we can see that the Stinger has the furthest reach for its effect, whereas the CS has the longest duration. Maybe the Flashbangs can claw back a victory somewhere else.
Oh my god, stop it!
I don't think it did as much as it did.
Now we know the range, we need to know the area of effect. It'll help us figure out where to run when things go not as planned. We've set up 3 boxes with suspects from our last run. A 5x5, a 10x10, and a 12.5 by 12.5. You can see the suspects in the 10x10 area are affected, except the one in the opposing corner. This confirms the flash works in a radius within its effective range. The CS gas also hits everyone within its effective range, excluding the suspect in the opposing corner. This confirms that the gas also works within a radius. It's the same story with the Stinger, so we can confirm all the nades work within a radius. But wait, there's more. Remember the Stingers have det charges with their own radius for doors? After a lot of testing, we were able to narrow down the radius to approximately 1 meter. The det charge radius also goes through the wall, so you could accidentally swing the door into you if you're not careful. Big thanks to Known for sacrificing his balls for science. Not like he was using them anyway. Apologies to his girlfriend if she wanted kids, but, trust us, we did you a favor. To make it up to you, here's another bonus fact. Staying in the det charge radius can be lethal. Getting hit by it 6 times will turn you into an eye in the sky. This applies to all types of armor. If this happens to you, let's just hope you're not a backseater. We all know shields are masochists, and it's good news for them. They can take 9 stinger charges before sledding their way to the fiery pits. I don't know about you, but I can't wait to throw stingers at my friends on our next run. But now we must move on to an issue that seems to be plaguing the nades, especially the current top 2. There is currently an issue with grenades requiring direct and unobstructed line of sight in order to have the desired effect. For the Flash, this isn't an issue and makes sense. The stinger is mostly okay. For the CS gas though, it can become problematic. As you can see, the gas itself is dispersing within its effective range, but the effect is not very effective. This is because the canister has no line of sight to the people. We can prove this by walking into the line of sight of the canister. As soon as we do, we get affected by the gas. That being said, even this theory isn't perfect. As you can see, the canister is behind the box. The civilian does not get affected as they run around the box. However, we get affected before we gain line of sight to the canister. We're not sure why this is, but it does challenge the theory. This is just something to be aware of when using CS gas, as it may not work out as intended. If this were a Pokemon, it better be cute. While it makes sense for the stinger's effect to be blocked by an obstacle, sometimes it is mitigated entirely by something it should be able to bypass, including another stinger. This may not be as big of a worry though, as we'll delve into this a bit more later. Now we move on to the fun part, throwing the nades. We'll cover some tips to help you be more accurate when deploying them. The easiest thing to pay attention to is the knuckle on your thumb. This will help you line up the vertical for the nade. All the grenades will follow the same path when thrown, so you don't have to worry about adjusting for different types. When it comes to throwing nades through tighter gaps, you can use the index finger to get your bearings. This will vary depending on the distance though, and definitely requires some practice. The nades all have different sizes, so you may have to be aware of where you're throwing. The main thing to take account of is the width, as this can change how the nade travels through the gap. Speaking of where the nades end up, let's talk more about that, as it's definitely something you'd want to be aware of. The Flash seems to be very consistent in where it lands, within an acceptable margin of error. The CS also seems to be fairly consistent, but it does roll more than the other nades, so it's something to remember. The stinger, however, seems to be the most inconsistent, seemingly going wherever it pleases. The extra range on it should make up for it though, and it's less likely to block another's effect if you throw multiple. Let's go back to the table. On paper, it looks like the CS and stinger are the best options, but there are caveats the data doesn't show. The line of sight issues with the CS can make you think it's safe to enter when it isn't. The stinger's inconsistent landing and impact on doors can potentially cause you more headaches than the suspects. The humble Flashbang, while it hasn't claimed any crowns today, is definitely the most consistent of the 3, so it still has its place. That's all from me today. Hopefully you've learned some things you didn't know before, and maybe changed your mind about some of the nades. One final thanks to Glitch for putting up with my shit at 3 AM. And, to the devs, please don't make this video redundant within a month. Back to you, Uncle Ron.
Thanks, Rhonda. I definitely learned a thing or two. This old dog can still learn new tricks. To everyone at home, thanks for watching. This has been What the Folk. I'm still Ron Davis. See you next time.